everybody, welcome back. Well, been beavering away with wiring and stuff, and some things have arrived, so I'll show you all that. Also, we've had another little flurry of subscribers, so hello to all of you, and I hope you're going to enjoy the videos. We had a few comments about wiring. Nobody seems to like wiring, that's one thing for sure, but that was all to the good. So let's get going and I'll show you the stuff that's arrived. Oh, first of all, see, I have been busy. I'm working out the bare bones wiring. So what arrived? Well, regulator rectifier, proper one for an XS750, so we've got the right connectors on it. Wasn't quite this clean, but funnily enough, it came guaranteed, so that was good. The bags of connectors and things came. I've got two bags. I've got one bag opened up to see what's inside, so we're all right there. And my nifty little thing to solve the feedback from the ignition circuit. Maybe a little big, but it's got a double-sided pad thing on the back, and I've got a nice place I can stick it. But basically, what happens is you can put two wires in with current on them, and only one comes out the other side. And I've tested this, it does work. They're for putting on the brake lights on trailers or something. So it was cheap enough, and probably a little bit overkill, but there you go. So as I said, we would have a part 2 wiring. Here we go. Just thought I'd show you this. It's one of those kits opened up, so we've got the connectors, 6 and 4s and 3s and 2s, and then all the bits that go inside them. And then we've got double connectors for bullet type things, and ones at angle and plain ones, and eye connectors. So as I say, I bought 2 of them, so we got lots. But what I'm going to show you here is, of course we got this, so we needed something to mount it on. So I've made a plate, and that goes on there like thus, and this bolts to the frame. So let's go and bolt it on. Now, as I mentioned, we have this nice flat plate here to bolt it on. There's even 2 holes which match up with those. So I've bolted it to the plate, and this is going to go on here behind the battery. There's lots of space, so let me go in there. By the way, I ordered that different battery. It's about an inch wider, same thickness, and just the height is just about the same as this, so it'll go in there. I don't know, I was pointing at that, I don't know if you could see it. Alright, let me put this other nut on. And I presume you can see this. People mentioned, well, one chap mentioned getting one of those little screens, and he said I'd seem to do alright. Well, that's because I check every bit of video. I've even taken things apart and put them back together again, because when I went to look at them I found out you couldn't see what I was talking about. So anyway, that goes in there nicely, and even this battery goes in with lots of space, as you can see. And there's the 3-pin which goes in there. Well, it won't go in like that, will it? 3-pin which goes in there like that. And this one, you can see here, it's got the 3 whites, and then the red and black come out. Black is earth and red is our rectified and regulated power going back into the circuit. So that's all in nicely. Yes, you can see it. So now the next thing we need to do is, come here. Oh, okay. Make up a mounting for this, and we'll make it up I'm not sure. Let's walk around the other side and see what's what. Now then, this side we have a little problem. I've moved the battery over so that it's about where it's going to be here. The battery is almost exactly the same size as the airbox, so it's going to be more or less flush. And I found a K&N filter which is 8 inches long, which is about like that, 6 and a bit inches wide, which is more or less what that one is. Ow! Hey, I'm getting all fingers and thumbs here. Which is just nicely what that is across there. And as I say, about 8 inches long, and it's 1 inch and a bit high, so it'll fit in right under here nicely. And it has fit. It's an oblong one, like the circular ones, so it's going to have an air filter all the way around. I think it'll breathe a lot better, and it's K&N. So anyway, so I'm going to have something in the top. So the top isn't really going to be available. But the big problem is the side cover has got the little tool thing, and it's sort of built right into it. You know, I don't want to take it out. Too much of a mess on. But that of course means I can't just put it here, which is what I was hoping to do. Where's it gone? There. I was hoping to sort of mount it there, thinking it would go inside the cover, but it won't. So we're going to have to put it somewhere else. But of course, actually I can always make a longer lead up, but we'll put it where it needs to be. And just make these cables up to suit. See, that one's annoying because it's got the extra piece on to go into the battery circuit. Do. Now, as I mentioned, I think what I'll do is I'll make the first part of this. It goes on like a U-shaped thing with 2 tangs. So I'll make that up out of some steel plate, 16th inch, something like that, so that I can at least put this on there. And then when we find out where we're going to put it, I can weld that to a mounting plate and we'll put it in. So let me make this little bit up and then we'll come back to this. There's the mounting piece made up. That goes into the 2 slots there. Nice and tight. And as I say, when we decide where we're going to mount it, we can weld a backing plate onto that, and that will be our mounting for that. And just out of interest, I calculated the surface area of the air filter that's in there compared with the one I'm getting. And the one that's in there has got 17.5 square inches roughly, and the K&N has just over 30. So not only is it a better filter, but there's more actual surface area. So let's go back to the frame and see where we can put this. I looked in the Yamaha 750 book, and there was a photograph of the solenoid, and it was mounted here on the right hand side down there, and that, where is it? Makes this about reach. I think I can get it to go up through the top there. Can I? Oh, as I said at the beginning, everybody hates wiring. Okay, so that will reach right through to over here. So what I've made, let's get you out of the way, is this, and it's going to go on there like that. Then when the side panel goes on, it will fit inside the side panel like that. So let me put the doodad on. Oh, it must be near the end of the day. I can't remember what I'm doing with things. There it is. Okay, so we're going to put it on like that. And that will go on there. And that will reach to this thing. That will reach fine for the battery. And wires. That will go on there. So we're all set. So let me find a way to clamp that so I can put a bit of weld on, and then we'll come back. There it is tacked on, and comes around here, so there's a gap for this part to go on. So let's put this on here. So that would bolt on there nicely. There's plenty of cable. Goes on like that. That will go up to the battery. As I say, that one fits nicely there. Nothing catches. That goes on there like thus. Goes in a bit. There we go. Let me take around the other side and show you how much room there is. There it is inside, and I don't know what you can see here, but I can just about get my finger in the back. So it's not touching the side cover. It's well off here. It actually is from this terminal to the pin on this side. Yeah, you can just see the pin here. It's just slightly short for the battery I was going to use, but I found another one that's a little bit smaller but still got the same cranking amps and what have you. So we've got plenty of space for a battery and then for the extended air filter. Right, so let's move on. So we're now at the position where I have all of the components in the positions that they're going to be. So, you know, we've put the voltage regulator and what have you, and the solenoid on there, starter motor, the couple of sensors that are on the engine, the coils are on, the switch gear's on. So what I can start to do now is decide where I'm going. Now, as I say, originally everything went back to here, but we don't need that, because here, out of those 5 wires, 3 of them need to be up here. One of them's power in, which is coming from this switch, and the other 2 are going into the headlamp. So there's no reason at all to take them all the way back there. The other 2, which belong to the horn, which are in earth and pink, they as well don't need to go. The horn's going to be here somewhere. I'll probably put a little bracket across there, little piece of plate, and mount the horn there. So the horn's just going to be there, and the horn switch is here, so none of this wiring needs to go to the back. The black, which is in earth, will connect into one of the other black leads. What I'm going to do is, as always, I am not going to use the frame or anything as the earth, the ground. I'm actually going to gather them all together and take them back to the battery, or at least to a connection on the frame that will also go to the battery. So a sort of collection point that we're then going to connect to the battery. So either way it'll go direct, we won't be using the frame tube. This one again is it's got to be connected to the ignition switch, and then that though does have to go backwards because it's going to feed, at least it's going to feed these coils, but also it's got that blue and white that's got to go back to, where is it? Switch back there somewhere. Blue and white, blue and white. Oh, off the solenoid. So it's right back here. So, as I say, what I'm going to do, pardon me, is utilize the wiring harness. I've opened it all up, so now I can sort of say, all right, this connection back here for the solenoid's got a plug on. I'll connect it there, come back here to wherever I've got this, and then make put a new block connector on that. So let me start to sort this out, and just with the last video I'll keep bringing you back in and out. I won't show you me messing around here with wires all the time, but as I get each thing done I'll come back and show you how it worked out. Now here's our first bit teased out. We've got the 3 sets of cables going to coils, coming back here to go to the points. Of course, this points one has got 4 on it, the one on the wiring harness has got 6. So, very odd. Yeah, because that's got a red and white going down there. I don't see why we need to be feeding power down, because the only other wire we've got from the bottom is the one that goes on this blue, and that's the neutral switch. So the neutral switch goes to earth, so it doesn't need any power feeding into it. So anyway, so we can put a nice new 4 one on that to match up with that. That also has our wires blue and white to go up there to the starter button, and the red and white power in going to that. There's a little multi thing there. Funnily enough, the way it's done in this harness is they're soldered together and then just taped up. Same with all the earths actually. So we've got our starter circuit and we've got our ignition circuit. So now we're going to look at try and sort out the heavy red that goes up to the ignition switch, and the heavy red also goes down to the regulator rectifier thing. So let me start sorting them out. Next one's a simple, but you could say fundamental circuit. It's the heavy gauge wire from the battery. So this is actually taken off the power to the starter motor. So that then would go to the fuse. It's teed in. There's the old regulator rectifier thing, and then that goes up to the front to the ignition switch. So there's another circuit ready. Now I hope you can hear me because it's absolutely pouring down here. In fact, it's just this second starting to ease off. So we've got our red going into the ignition switch. So now we might as well look at power coming out. So we know we've split the power coming out to ignition only and ignition and lights. So we'll forget about the lights one for now. These two will go onto this. So we've got power coming out, going into this and coming out of there. Now return power on this wiring circuit is brown, and there's a sort of heavy gauge brown which splits off there and in other places. It also splits at the fuse box. That is main power out from the fuse box, and actually I think that one they used for indicators. That is our ignition circuit, and that was to feed lights. So let's in fact look at the lights. Right, lights. Where have I put my bits and pieces? There we go. Okay, so this is relatively simple. That's got to go into the headlamp shell, goes onto the bulb, and there's only 3 wires there. So we've got an earth, we've got a high beam, we've got a low beam. The high beam's got to take off. That is to go to this, which is the high beam warning light. That's those. They go in the clock, in the tachometer. Okay, so also on this one we've got all the black. Virtually all of it came off with that one. God knows why somebody spliced the yellow onto the black. But anyway, there's our earths, or grounds. So, alright, what was I saying? Oh yeah. Now, coming out of this switch we have all these, but as we say, we know exactly what we need here. We need that yellow to go for the high beam. We need the green for the low beam. We need an earth. And we need a pink for the horn. So the horn that's power in, and instead of, as I say, as I mentioned before, just earthing on the handlebar lever, it actually goes back through an earth. So we're going to have to double up on that a little bit. So I've cut that off there. All I've got to do here is cut out the ones we want, cut the others short, and we'll put a little 3-pin thing on for there to go to the headlamp. And this one we'll just put a bullet connector on, because as I say, it's only just going down here, and we'll put a little bullet connector on to fasten into the harness there. The only other one here is, where is it, there. That's our power in. Okay, so that one also we might just do as a bullet, because that's got to go to this. Blue and yellow to red and yellow. What a pain in the arse, but never mind. So that one's going to go to there. These, as you saw, go up to here, and the pink is going to go down to the horn. And that's that all done. So the front end is almost completely finished. Also in this, there's the light blue. So as power going into the bulb, and the light blue is going back down to the neutral switch, which just earths. So when you're in neutral, the bulb is on. Yellow and black, as I say, is the one for the high beam. And the other one, blue and black, is just the illumination. It's just the bulb to light up the clock. So that's that. Then up here, we're also going to put in 2 more little warning lights. We're going to put in one for oil pressure, which is blue and black, which is somewhere around. So it'll need a brown in, and then the blue and black back. Well, hang on. Yes, we do know where blue and black is, because we thought how silly it was. The blue and black is on this one that comes out of there. So that blue and black one is already being fed power into that switch, so that blue and black just needs to go back down. Wants to go all the way back, because that blue and black comes out with the alternator wires. So we're going to have to find the blue and black and run it all the way back there. But other than that, that front end is pretty much done. Is there anything else up here? Oh yeah, there's going to be front brake switch, which is just a short bit of wire. Well, it's going to be brown in, and then we're going to have one dark green, I think, that runs all the way to the back. So this front end is almost finished. Charging circuit's being looked at, horns being looked at. So basically all we're going to do now is go back and sort out the rear brake switch and the back light. So I've been working on switch gear. So what we've got here, I haven't sort of fastened it together yet into its harness, but I've got red coming from the battery, or the battery arrived, so I've just got it connected up loose temporarily. So I've got red coming from the battery going up. Do you know, bugger, there are more mosquitoes now than there's been all summer, because it's done nothing but rain. Pardon that, but mosquitoes do like to bite me. So what was I saying? Oh yeah, so we've got red going up into the ignition switch. Then coming out of the ignition switch, we've got the 2 circuits for the ignition. Brown ignition only going into this thing. Sorry, blue ignition only going into that thing. Brown, where are we? Brown and this red and yellow are when it's in the lighting position. So that's brown's going that way. Red and yellow is feeding the dip switch. And here's our brown coming out and going back down so that it can feed all the bits and pieces. Now I've also connected in the high beam warning light and the 2 horn wires. So let me pull you back so you can get the full benefit of this. In fact, to tell you what, I'll move you around a bit. Bop, 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 bop. There. So we have one ignition position which gives us lights. And here's the dip switch, high and low beam. So that's low beam. There's high beam, and can you see that now I've moved you? Yes. There's the high beam warning light. Then the next position, the lights go off. So that's perfect because it means that diode's working, because we're not feeding through from the blue wire back up the brown to the lights. And when we've got either position, we have power. Where are we? There's the horn. So now, why didn't I have horn in that other position? Right, let's turn that off. So there's the horn. Oh, there's the horn dangling there. Got to check that. That should be working, that horn. So anyway, we're part way there. So let me bundle these wires up and got to make a bracket for the horn, and then we'll look at feeding off this brown into the red and white, and we'll see if we can get some sparks. Now I've connected up the 4 wires that come out of this switch, and what I've done for now is the red and white, which is going to our coils, and which also goes down to the starter motor solenoid. I've just connected it to the horn because it's a power lead, so we can test a couple of things there. So there's ignition on. So the first thing is, there's the starter motor working. And also, oh, I can't reach it. The horn works, but if I turn the kill button, which is now isolating that red and white wire, which I'm using to power the horn, nothing. You can't see me, but believe me, I'm pressing the button. So pressing the button there, nothing there. All right, and let's try our other position. Oh, I found out what that was, by the way. What was it? God, my memory's going. Anyway, oh, I know what it was. I was using the wrong switch position. What I thought was off was actually on. So I was going from ignition only to lights being in the middle was fine. And then when I went to the other side, which I thought was going to be ignition only, it was actually off. So there we go. Everything, where are we? Everything is working the way it should be. Okay, let's move on to something else. Alright, this is some hours and some cursing later. And I'm so worn out, look, I haven't even got my hat or my brown coat on. Alright, I remembered I had this nice little light. So I fished that out. I now have, I think, I wonder why I did that. Anyway, virtually everything is sorted. So we have lights, high beam, low beam. Oh, can you see that? Where are you? High beam, low beam, and the clock lights are on and everything is fine there. Okay, then we have front brake. I haven't mounted this yet, but rear brake switch, horn, starter. Then we go to our ignition only circuit. Funny, that blue light looks like it's on all the time. Where am I? Starter, horn, front brake, rear brake. So that's all the lighting circuits on. And so all I have to do now is connect up my what am I talking about? See, I've gone completely doolally doing this. The voltage regulator rectifier, and I'm going to put this in one plug. See, it's got two plugs coming out here. One's got 5 on it and one's got 2 on it, but from the engine, from the actual generator, it's got 2 plugs. And why, I don't know, because they all come from down there. The only thing I can think of is, this being an earlier engine, I think they had a separate rectifier and voltage regulator. But now I've got one, I think I'm just going to put like an 8-pin plug on, because they all go to the alternator and they all go to that, so I don't see any point in them being 2 completely separate bundles of wire. So that will be done, and then the only other thing is the one for the points. Plus, actually, on this, these 3-pin ones go together, but would you believe it, the colours are in different places, so I'd have to fiddle around anyway. So I think it would be easy to do that. This one is going to go on to, what's that going to go on to? Oil pressure gauge, which is on this side, and this light blue goes on that side for the neutral light, and the neutral light actually does work. So everything is good for now. Let me do that last little bit and then I'll show you we get a spark and then we're done. Well, I've got to just bundle these up. Actually, for any of you doing this, one of the things I've really had to keep a close eye on was which wires I put into which bundle when I was using the solid plugs. If you just use all bullet connectors, it's no problem. But a couple of times I almost slipped up and I thought, whoa, you know, I can put 4 wires on that. Yeah, but one of them was a different circuit and it wouldn't have come off. You know, I would have taken the wiring harness off and had the headlamp still on it, this sort of thing. So anyway, let me do the last couple of plugs and then we'll show you the completed job. Now I've got the points wired up, so let's have a look, see what happens here. So there's our ignition and lights. Okay, there's one plug sparking, it's a good sign. There's another plug sparking. You can just see it in the background there. It's that one there. Okay, now let's go to our next position. Yes, we've got, and try again. One plug, 2 plugs, 3 plugs. Alright, so the only thing I've got to wire up now is put a plug on for the alternator. Oh, By the way, oh, hold on a second. Let me turn you off, turn you back on. Right, I'm going to hand hold this because tripod wouldn't reach this far. So let me just, there we you can see the clock lights work. High beam. And if I can keep you in the picture and touch that to there. That's the, not very well in focus, that's the neutral light. So there you go, see, I wasn't kidding you, all the clocks work. Alright then, that's it done to all intent and purposes. Couple of minor things, I have to make a bracket up for this rear brake switch. I have to make a bracket up for the horn, and I'm buying a new horn because that one served its purpose for testing. And I have to get a little warning light for the oil pressure switch, but that's all wired in, so that's easily done. And you can see I've sort of made some of this up as harness. It's all fastened up now, all except this little bit at the front end here, and I can't do that until I can move the forks, because I don't want to get it all neatly bundled up and then when I turn to one lock find it all pulls apart because it's tight. So that's the minor jobs to be done. It was a real marathon, I'll tell you. Particularly all the little solder joints, you know, all of these pins. For instance, there's 8 little pins, you know, 4 males and 4 females in there. They've all got to be soldered on, and this one down here has got 16 in it. It's amazing how much time it took, particularly because my soldering is rubbish. But anyway, it all came out in the end. I just had a quick run through. Everything still works, so we're ready to move on to the next bit, which actually is next video for you is probably going to be the topper, because the reason I'm sitting down now is I'm feeling a little weak. I've just ordered stainless steel bends and things to make the exhaust, so that rather took it out of me. So that'll be the next job on this. We'll put the barrel and the heads on and we'll bolt them down, just not completely, but the thing is, it's surprising, you pop them on and gaskets and what have you, if it's not bolted down it might only move a 1/16 of an inch all told. But if you've made all your exhausts and got them fastened up and suddenly the exhaust ports are a 1/16 of an inch lower than they were when you made the exhausts, you're not going to be that happy. So we'll do that on the next video on this. So I don't know if you can hear, but it's raining again. The older locals down at the diner at the bottom of the hill, which is sort of our local, seems they don't have pubs here really. They tell me it's the wettest summer they've ever remembered. However, to put it in context, it's nothing compared to what they're getting in Florida at the moment. So there you go. There's another installment finished. We're getting closer and closer. And I'm going to go off and do some other things. And you go off and enjoy yourselves.